Tonight's the night. If you grew up in the sleepy hamlet of Staunton or one of the wooded villages scattered throughout the countryside, you may well have heard of the bat story. Unlike the many stories told around fires to keep the children from experimenting with drugs or from causing harm to themselves or others by driving too fast or walking too slow, the bat story did not teach its listeners any lesson. It did not shed light on mysteries of the dark. This was a story of one man's will to overcome an adversary and continue on his charted trajectory into the world of online fame. Season 3. You've all been waiting patiently for this, and we appreciate your continued support. Tonight of all nights is the episode of Jabber Jawn you do not want to miss. This will be the one that people will ask where you watched it and who were you with when the bat story was told. I have never heard the story, so I am just as excited and wound up as you all are. Wrap a blanket around yourself and grab a broom, as we are about to unleash the bats into your living room. Enjoy!
Frog sitting on a log, one of them fell in. One frog said to the other frog, well, you better go get her. Two little frogs sitting on a log, one of them fell in. Last little frog, he sat and thought, good thing they can swim. Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn. Three little frogs sitting on a log, one burst into a grin. One frog said to the other frog, wonder what's got into him. Two little frogs sitting on a log, one laughed until he is red. Last little frog, he sat and thought, must have been something I said. Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn. When it all happens. And we're live. I can see the meters moving. Holy moly. Season 3 begins. Yep, as you can see, Lex is in the room with us. Here we got our producer right here. We moved operations a little bit. We're trying to demark season 3. You may have noticed a little bit variation on the theme song there. I did some work on it last night. Redid the bass and added an electric guitar and a little background vocal. And yeah, so that's fun. Check that out when y'all get home. We couldn't hear it in here, but pretty exciting for season 3, episode 50. Welcome to the show. You're watching Jabber Jawn. I'm Nathan Moore. This is Kyle Hogg. This is Steve Moore. Jabber Jawn at your service. Here's another little upgrade I did. I don't know when we'll use this if it'll become a thing, but check this out.
Oh my goodness.
I don't even know if they can see that out there.
You know, I bought something like that to when I'm enjoying a nice gummy, I can lay in bed. And it wasn't working, and then I was just having a fit texting a friend like, man, stupid thing, it cost me $9.99, it doesn't work.
You should have made sure it worked first.
Well, then I read the directions. I didn't take the cover off of it. So when I took the cover off, the whole ceiling just was just amazing. But the first night I was laying there cussing it and like, wow, I wasted my money.
Can you even see
this
it?
is what happens in your bedroom at night?
No, it's like stars and different
they don't
colors.
move?
Yeah,
Or it does move?
Yeah, and it goes around and it just, man,
Wow.
it'll take
Just lay
you.
in bed and look at the stars.
Yeah, man,
That's
it's
nice.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good thing. I like to have one of those.
It does sound like a good thing. You can borrow this one if you want.
This one doesn't.
This is just your classic
This
disco
makes me
ball.
feel
That's
like I'm
just-
having an attack or something. Yeah, there's something wrong. Call 911
wrong
again.
turn.
Yeah, call 911. Damn, they were just here.
Can you even see it on there, Lex?
Oh yeah.
It's Is it subtle or is it
See
awesome?
it happening, yeah.
Did Stanton
All right,
ever-
well, I'll cut it off for now,
Well,
but
no, well, okay, yeah.
if you ever need it, just let me know. I got the magic button over it. We also have 2 more buttons here that we can add things to by the end of season 3.
Well, what
Make 'em-
kind of things you talking
I
about?
don't know. Like maybe a frog will pop up from behind the thing,
I mean,
a
you
little
don't-
automated frog.
Well, that's what I wondered. I want to know what's in there. You got 2 more things in there, but you don't know what they are.
Well, they're just blank
Can you
spaces.
program them?
Well, it just cuts on the electricity to something.
One of them's an eject button. One of our chairs. throws
Yeah,
us
I mean,
forward.
it could be anything.
No, back in the
A
'70s.
little buzzer under I got 2 slots, and I'm looking at each of you guys. There's going to be something in store for you once I figure it out.
In the '70s, did Stanton ever have like a disco? People would go dance, and they would have lights like that and stuff.
I'm sure they did, and I'm sure there were places that entertained that. I didn't go there.
Like, what did Dice's? Did Dice's have any?
No, that was.
You couldn't have anything glass.
They might
Tower.
have.
You couldn't have anything
Has
glass
that now,
at
right?
Dice's.
Clock
You know,
Tower
places like the Holiday Inn.
Holiday, yes, the Holiday Inn.
The Holiday Inn downtown and the one out there.
Uh-huh.
But those Holiday Inns would be on.
They would
this
be.
stuff.
They did that.
Yeah.
Full on dance floor, loud and
Yeah.
lights. The works. Holiday
And I
Inn.
forgot about
I forgot all
that.
about that.
Yeah, I used,
I was just telling a friend of mine, one of my last my last week or two in New Jersey, a friend of mine, we were going to go see a friend of ours was putting on a play or something, and he said we'll go to a bar and get some drinks before we go. And I'm like, oh, that sounds good. So I go to the address, someplace I never heard. And I pull up, it's a hotel. I'm like, what the hell? Why are we meeting at a hotel? And it was the same thing. It was like a hotel with this like happening bar. I was like, man, I haven't seen one of these in a long time.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. What was the main nightclub in the 70s and in beyond that? Like, not
Nightclub?
attached to.
I don't know.
I mean, definitely bars, but I was
Yeah,
thinking more of the
I wouldn't-
nightclub vibe.
I think you had to go to Harrisonburg to get a nightclub. And then that
Like-
was a college-oriented thing, you know.
Did Dice's have dancing?
Oh, yeah, but it was country.
Right, okay.
Dice's is a country theme, so,
Okay.
you know, it wasn't square dancing necessarily, but it was country dancing.
Right.
And that's not the same as having the disco balls. The disco thing's a whole different scene, but
No, the skating rink had Skate Town or whatever it was. They had one of those.
Oh,
balls,
big
didn't they?
time. That was definitely
yeah,
a
that's
version of that.
another place for the high schoolers to go. But
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, I didn't make that scene, the disco scene, so I don't know. There might have been disco places around, but I just wouldn't have been in them, or I wouldn't have known about them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's a shame that they were deprived of your moves.
it is, and yeah.
Because you would have thought he was raised in disco halls, seeing him on the dance floor.
Now, my parents talked about going to this place out in the country, sort of like parked in the grass. The
Crafton's.
Crafton's, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go there?
Yeah, that was yeah.
What's that? I never heard of that.
It was out toward the hospital road, way you just in the Dice's area, or no, not really. But if you went around the block, it was. But at any rate, it was just another place out toward Buffalo Gap that you could.
And there was also
Roadhouse
It was
vibes.
it was a roadhouse.
Roadhouse
It had,
vibes.
yeah, it had a good vibe to it. Good country, and that would be a good meeting place for like the county and the city people.
Right.
Right.
It was like neutral ground in there.
But my parents always talked about they didn't sell liquor, so they sold Coke, so you just take your own liquor out
Right,
there. They'd sell you a
right.
Coke, then you put in whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
That's weird.
And also where like the out past where Wendy's was on Greenville Avenue, that little sketchy hotel used to be. They said there was some club back there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. In fact, I thought
Rocket,
of that
the Rocket or
I
something.
was thinking there was one of them that was great. It was called Grebo's. And I believe that's where I took Marion on our first date.
Oh, wow.
When I tell that story.
Grebos.
Was that in Stanton?
Yeah, it was at their Jolly View.
Okay.
You know, we're Jolly had to pass Staunton, but it was in that little hotel, a little motel in Jollyview, and he had bought it, and he took the restaurant, and at night it was a place to go dancing. They played music, and so it was a hot spot for a little while.
That's a weird. Was that the owner's name or something? Grebo?
That's a good, interesting you asked that. It was actually the owner's name backwards. His name was Oberg. Remember
the magician?
The magician Oberg.
Is not
It
the
was
same
either,
guy?
well, it was he or his brother.
Oh, the same.
There were two brothers.
Because there's a
but-
magician in Stanton.
Oh, we have
His
a
last
famous
name is
magician?
Oberg.
Oh, wow.
His last name's Oberg, and he goes by Grebo.
I don't know if he did,
Oh, that's cool.
if it was him that did the restaurant or his brother, but, and I used to know him, I can't remember. I think it was Jim and Ron, but I don't remember. But yeah, they were trying to do the right thing. They had a good music scene going on out there.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Now, did you ever see The Magician?
Yeah, I've visited with him and shown each other tricks.
Yeah, I
and stuff.
introduced him at one time. So.
Great guy.
Yeah, he was real
I
nice.
should visit him again. Grebos. John Huggins, welcome to the show. Good to see you. Saul, what's up?
Just back from a trip, I'm
Line
sure.
dancing. I was definitely thinking two things. One about square dancing when I was a kid. Did you ever do that?
We had to do it in gym for some
You had to do it in
reason.
gym. Like, it was a whole thing, right? When we were kids, square dancing was a whole thing, a whole rite of passage. You could not escape it.
No.
I enjoyed it, though.
Square dancing in your gym shorts and a t-shirt. Nothing beats that.
But just that whole notion of going out dancing is such a different thing nowadays. I mean, with the rave culture, where everybody's just sort of their own little island, dancing
Right.
their butts off, whatever. The idea of like working up the nerve to ask a woman to dance or whatever. I love all that energy. I feel like something needs to bring that back. It was a mission statement of Surprising Me, Mr. Davis, for a little while, to bring back the slow dance. We got to bring back the slow dance, guys. We'd get each other all pumped up. We got to do this. We were wearing suits. We got to make this happen. We ended up writing a song called Bringing Back the Slow Dance, but that's about as far as we ever got.
You know, I have 4 nieces. Well, I have 2 nieces and 2 nephews from like 30 to 20. They've never slow danced.
Yeah, it's
I was like, how can you have never slow danced?
That's
And they were like, oh, it wasn't just like no. It was like, oh.
it must be a part of school dances still, right? It's got to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember when Grayson was going to go to his first
I remember him practicing.
dance? You were here too. It was in the backyard here, and Kethra was like that was the test partner there,
That's so great.
teaching him how to do 2-step or whatever.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that funny?
That's
Yeah.
a beautiful memory.
I
Do
haven't
you
even
remember
heard
what
a
you were
s-
about to say? I feel like I cut you off there.
No, I do not.
I apologize.
And I don't feel like you cut me off.
Okay.
I do wonder if my daughter's ever slow danced with someone other than me.
Mm-hmm.
And J. Cobb Anderson at your wedding.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, that was a very sweet moment.
It's a classy wedding.
Well, dancing now, when you see people dance, it's almost like they're having sex, you know. They're just going.
With themselves.
Oh, well, I see some, it's like, oh, good grief.
There was a while there in my 20s when I would go cut loose at dance clubs all by myself. Just get out there, work up a good sweat, drinking, dancing my little butt off.
Well, the thing is, and this is, you know, this wasn't something I did on purpose, but so few guys dance. If you get up and dance, like, women will just come up to you because there's nobody else to dance with. Even, you know, I was like the last choice anybody wanted to, but I was the only one out there. So, you know, they would just like,
Yeah, you'll do.
It's either this or nothing. What are we going to do, you know?
before I forget, I was also thinking about how you're saying how you would bring Cokes into the place, and or they would sell you Coke, so you bring your own liquor, in, which is very much like the Moose Lodge or something.
Right.
I feel like those lodges are interesting. Like you have your own bottle back behind the bar with your name on it or something.
My dad had that at the Elks. Yeah.
The thing I'm still watching Gunsmoke. That'll probably be the case for season 5 too. There's so many episodes of that show, but you see it in old westerns a lot of times where they go into the saloon and they get the whole bottle of whiskey. Yeah. It's like a frequent line is glass or bottle. Which are you? Are you here for a nip or are we doing this? Hey, I'll take the bottle.
Are you a pussy or you want the whole bottle?
Right.
Damn, give me the bottle.
But I like that. The whole bottle. Yeah, why not?
And they would just take it over to the table with them,
I fell asleep during an episode this morning that I can't wait to get back to. It's a cliffhanger in my mind. I got to know what happens. These two guys in the opening scene start quarreling over pretty lady at the saloon, which I have big question. I still do not understand the ladies in the saloon on Gunsmoke, what their expectations are, what their role is, like what do you remember what I'm talking about? Because
I remember Miss Kitty, but I don't remember the others.
There's ladies she hires to be there,
right?
But then it's really
every saloon has those.
Just hired ladies to drink with?
Well, I think a lot of it involves prostitution back in the day.
It's alluding to
that.
But the thing is,
have to.
Probably you couldn't show it on the movies or TVs. It's probably like a strip club. They would walk around scantily and get you to keep drinking. But you can't show that on Gunsmoke,
Right. But if that's what they're alluding to without saying it outright, it doesn't explain so many storylines that revolve around their presence. Like I don't even know how to describe that question, but this morning's episode started with two guys, and we've talked about this before, but it was so funny because it reminded me of us. Two guys are fighting over one of the ladies at the saloon. They go outside and start beating each other up, and basically at the end of the fight, they have so much mutual respect for each other, they become fast friends. They go get a bottle of whiskey and they go into business together. And then, just so y'all know, because I know you're dying to know, one of them has a barrel. Has a barrel fall right on his head, just because Dad's had something fall on his head.
Every week there's a barrel falling on his head.
And he has this brain injury basically that makes him mean.
Oh no!
And he's just a changed person. He's mean, and so they're in business together. And the other guy's not wanting to give up on him because he's the best friend a man could have ever had, and he just knows that he's going to come out of this eventually. So that's where I am. I'll let y'all know next time what happens.
Yeah.
If he snaps out of it or if it comes to blows.
I'm very curious now to find out how that comes out.
Me too. I'll let you know what happens.
Well, as soon as you watch it, would you give me a text?
Yeah, you don't have to wait for the show. I'll let you know.
Wait till another week or so.
Right.
I've got to take care of business right now.
I'll call you about 5 o'clock this morning and let you know what happens.
As soon as you see it, just text. I'll check it later. But
it's funny talking about saloon girls. Yesterday at work, it's gonna sound. It wasn't weird. It's gonna sound weird, but I was in a lady's office and she asked me if I was a bad boy, and we were just laughing. I was like, "What's a bad boy?" And she was like, well, "Are you a bad boy?" And we were just kidding about that. So then when I went home, I was listening to some music, and it was a song about a dirty girl. So I was thinking at home last night, is a bad boy the same as a dirty girl? So I texted her and I said, it was the same thing. She said, no, a dirty girl can clean up and be a clean girl, but a bad boy is always a bad boy. Do you think that's true?
Interesting.
You think a bad boy can ever straighten up and become nice, or he's always a bad boy?
Well, I don't know what a bad boy is.
Well, I didn't really know when she asked me that.
Well, somebody's gonna have to define the term.
Let's get her on the line.
Text that bad girl.
Oh, that could be a fun thing.
But the funny thing is, he said he doesn't know what a bad boy is, but he obviously knows what a dirty girl is because he didn't ask what a dirty girl is. I don't know what a bad boy is. Dirty girl, I know. But
Brian Elijah Smith has a T-shirt that he wears often. It's just his bad girl. So, just
well,
saying.
you never really hear the term bad girl. It's always a dirty girl.
Right. I've never heard any of these terms.
Dirty boy. Like dirty boy, you never hear either. Are you a dirty boy?
Right. Are you a dirty boy?
No, I'm a bad boy. You dirty girl. So maybe those saloon girls were just dirty girls.
Or bad boys.
Bad brain injured boys with a barrel on his head. Where did that barrel fall from? He was off a wagon.
They were,
or
yeah.
something?
They started this import business, and they got this big shipment in, and barrel was. I mean, that was some good acting or something. I don't know if that barrel was super light in reality or how. I mean, that if there was a stunt double or what, but it really looked like it hit him in the head. And if it was light. In reality, they did an amazing job acting as they struggled to get it off of them. I little inner mystery going on there.
Maybe it was just an accident and they had to write it into the story. Damn, you almost killed him all. Change his script. He's got a brain in.
We need writer's stat. Hell, and a doctor.
And he might need a neck brace. Don't move him. Don't move him.
Should we introduce the doctor this week or next week?
I don't know. Let's see what happens next.
Get a couple of those saloon girls out here.
Lord,
Well, it's also those shows. Always there's like a hotel above the saloon, so that sort of ties into.
Yeah, there's rooms upstairs, and
Yeah.
that's definitely. Yeah, it's a very interesting aspect of the show. If that was what they were thinking, we can't say it explicitly, but we can sort of hint around it. But then there's so many storylines that don't necessarily make sense because a lot of those saloon girls are spoken for by a man in town. So if a guy gets out of line with them, then that's been the source of tension for several episodes. In fact, the lady last night that the two dudes were fighting over was her betrothed gentleman in town was none other than the guy that played Batman. It was maybe
Adam West.
Adam West. It's Adam West. And I was like, when the first time he's ever been on an episode, it was like a guest appearance. He's only the second celebrity that I've recognized. Where I'm like, oh, that's Harry Dean Stanton. Look at that.
He was in there.
He
too?
was there. I was like, that is freaking Harry Dean Stanton right there. And then Adam West last night.
And he was
And you can
married
tell
to a
why he
saloon
went,
girl?
how he got more roles off of that one appearance. Because, boy, when they showed his face, he just leapt off the screen. Presence. You could tell, like, his phone was ringing off the hook the next week after that show dropped. Like, who is this guy?
When he climbed up the side of the saloon, they were like, that man needs.
That never gets old. We could reenact that for a commercial for Jabber Jawn. That's something. Dad could even pull that off.
I mean, that Batman, that TV show.
That would be
was
such a funny ad for us. Let's do that. Just, you know what we're talking about? You remember that?
The what now?
In Batman, when they climbed up the side of walls and they would always get in
yeah.
conversations with the people in the windows. But the way they did it, of course, was they just shot it on the flat ground.
Right.
They just had a rope going across, and then you just turn the film sideways. So the people that are leaning out of windows are probably like laying on their back or something. But we could completely pull that scene off. All right, I'm going to work on that. You know, we could maybe take calls someday. That'd be fun.
Yep.
Yep.
Is anybody right? I'm in the car right now from Keyport, New Jersey.
Answer it on speakerphone. Let's go. Here we go.
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, just hold it right here.
It's
We're
probably
good.
somebody trying to sell me something because I don't know what this.
Oh, you want to
number
do
is.
it? You want to answer it? Put it on
Be
speakerphone.
like, hey, you're on speaker and live on the internet.
Hello?
Hello. Thanks, friend. Hi, this is Sam calling from Tax Relief Services. How are you today?
I'm very good. I just have to tell you, you're on air.
Wow.
Who was that?
They hung right up.
Said something about tax services.
That was pretty savvy. They were like, oh, no, I'm out. They didn't even ask questions.
What-
They were like,
who they
I'm
say
on
they
air.
were?
Boop.
It was. I think she said I'm calling from tax services.
They're
It sounded like it
trying
was a computer at first, and
Yeah.
it switched immediately.
Once I answered, somebody
to a
came on.
Human being. Interesting.
It's weird. All the fonts are in Russian on your phone.
Oh, no.
God, I mean, she did hang up instantly.
Immediately.
I hadn't
You're
even-
on air. Bam.
I hadn't even said the whole thing had it. She.
You have to remember that. Get rid of people that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was quick.
I'm
Right?
going to use that in my downtime. Just so you know, you're on the air. Actually, I'm sitting on the toilet.
Just so you,
I heard tell you all the thing Brad said. I was like, one time I had to answer. I usually won't answer a call on the toilet, but it was a good friend. I was like, hey. He's like, well, I usually just tell people I'm opening a jar of pickles down in a deep well.
I was sitting on the toilet like 2 weeks ago, and I had my phone, and all of a sudden a friend of mine's face came on there, and I thought, man, she's calling me. So I'm not gonna. It was like she was FaceTiming me or something. I'm like, I'm not gonna answer it. So I'm just sitting there, with the phone ringing, and then she answered. She starts talking, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, I didn't answer the phone. She goes, no, you called me. I somehow by mistake
Oh,
called
my
her.
butt dial.
And she's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm just taking a shit.
Random.
I'm going to hang up. She's like, oh, okay. but when she answered, I was like, oh, crap. How did she start talking without me even answering the phone?
I think the cold FaceTime call is a bold move.
Oh, yeah.
That I think people stopped doing it for. It was a more common occurrence 5 years ago or something, but it's still every now and again someone will have the gall to call me FaceTime. I just feel like that's such a bold move, just cold out of the blue. Just I know the future will probably be like that, like the Jetsons or something, where everything's a video call. We don't even do anything else. It'll all be in our fridge or in the wall or something. But for now, I'm always so terrified when I see that. I'm like, holy moly, I got to go check my hair. I don't know if I got boogers hanging out of my nose. I can't just answer a video call out of the blue.
Now, when you were young, you wanted to talk to a lady on the phone. And did y'all have more than, like, I'm sure you only had one line, but your parents like, get off the phone, we need to.
Well, I was never much on the phone. I'm not a phone person. And I had an older sister in high school, so the phone was
Was
out.
she on the phone all the
She
time?
was on the
Classic.
phone. The phone was hers. So, yeah, my parents didn't use the
Did
phone.
you ever listen to one of her phone calls on one of the other lines in the house? Oh, I'm getting a video call right now from my cousin. Steven just called me.
Oh, tell him happy birthday.
AKA Eric.
You're live on the air, Eric.
I didn't answer in time. I got to check my nose.
Well, because back then you didn't have like call, or you didn't. What was that thing? What was
I
it
should have
called?
just held it up to the camera and answered it like that. Just let him.
What was that thing called when you used to be on the phone and you could tell another call was coming in? That was a huge advance.
Call waiting.
Was it call waiting? Yeah, you put somebody on
Oh wait,
hold.
he called right when I asked you that question.
What question?
Did you ever listen to one of Vicky's phone calls on another line in the house?
Never.
Did you ever listen to
Never.
anybody else's calls on another line in the house?
Not really.
Not really.
Well, I mean, I can't think of anybody.
The phone just happened to be by ear. And I just,
No, I mean, I don't really remember eavesdropping on anybody else's calls. There wasn't anybody in.
Kids won't even know what we're talking about, but back in the day, you'd have like 2 or 3 phones in your house, and if
One
you
line,
picked up
though.
in one line, so if you picked up the phone to make a call, someone else might be somewhere else in the house already talking to somebody, and you could hear that whole
Right.
conversation. I feel like at least more than once, I might have, as a listened in on you or Mom or something if I thought y'all were talking about me or something like that. But
Sure.
every now and again, you'd pick it up and you'd be like, "Oh, someone's on it." Then you'd be like,
Well,
"Did you ever do that move? Did you ever do that move?"
yeah, but also it used to be like, then they'd say, "I think somebody's listening." And you like hang up, like run, like you were doing something else. Were you listening to the phone? I've been outside all day, you know.
Did you ever do? So, do you have any memory? I don't really remember.
I
a
can't.
specific
I'm sure I
moment.
did, but I do remember like my mom or dad or somebody saying, "I think someone's listening," because I think you could hear that. There's something about it.
When
made
you
it a
first
little
pick
bit
it up, there's that.
click. And then I think it just like a little like they can hear.
If you knew they were talking about you or something, you wanted to do it sly. You had to be like gingerly,
Right.
and then like cover up the mouth part
Right.
and hold it up there.
We
the
used
whole
to
thing.
when we used to have babysitters. There used to be this thing where you could call your own number. It would ring. I forget what that was. Like you could be on the line and call, and your phone would ring. And so we were like little kids, so the babysitters always knew, you know, like we're calling to speak to Mr. Hogg, like Kyle, hang up the phone, you know.
Oh yeah, hang. Oh, that's a memory right there. Hang up. Hang it up. Waiting for you to hang up before they start talking.
But man, the phone would ring. We would fly off the sofa like dying to answer because you never knew who was calling.
Right.
They were never calling for us, but you know. Now, did you ever make prank phone calls?
Not really.
It's always not really. Are you being serious? Are you pranking? No, this
No,
might
I
be
might have been
serious.
around people that were doing that, but I was totally innocent of any type of behavior like that. I don't even want to bother other people.
Is your refrigerator running? You better go catch it. All those stupid things.
You got Prince Edward in a can. Better let him out.
Yeah, I remember that. Now that you said that, I could hear my dad like, "I've got it. Hang up. You know, I've got it." Yeah.
Hang up. John Dotson, welcome to the show. The world is for extroverts, he says. Yeah, especially these days. Good to almost see your face, Stephen. It's still hard to call him that. He was Eric all growing up, all through childhood. Eric. He goes off to college, comes back Stephen.
Wow.
And I just never been able to adjust. And you'd be
Is that his
hanging
middle
out with
name
all
or
of his friends and stuff. And I'm like, Eric. He's being called 2 different names. I sort of went through that a little bit. When I moved to Texas at first, I dropped out of college and got a one-way ticket to Austin, Texas, the live music capital of the world, and changed my name to Mr. Hat.
Mr. Hat.
Friends called me Hat.
What
And
is
then
that
when we
from?
moved, then we moved to New Mexico, and I decided to go back to being myself. And Dave and Amy, who we'd started a band together, moved to New Mexico. Like still for months, were calling me Hat. They couldn't switch over to my real name. But I had this whole like Turk 182 vision for myself. Like I came up with this really easy to spray paint thing. It was like a propeller, hat, and then the same infinity sign for the propeller as the eyes and a little nose. Mr. Hat. And I was going to spray paint my logo all over Austin, Texas, until people are like, what is this thing I keep seeing? Like Fendel stickers and
Right.
Stanton. That was my vision, but I never spray painted that tag once.
No, where'd you get Mr. Hat from? Was it like Nathan?
It was like
H-A-T?
it was a song I wrote called Mr. Hat, and I felt like at the time, like it was the first song I'd ever written in my own voice. Like I wasn't just impersonating my heroes, but I was like, where'd that song come from? And so I just decided when I left Virginia and headed out into the world, I could be whatever I wanted to be, and I had these wild, romantic, young visions of becoming something new, a character, Mr. Hat.
So like when you would meet somebody somewhere, they'd say, "Hey, I'm Kyle." You'd say, "I'm Mr. Hat."
Mm-hmm.
And they'd say, "We got a winner here."
It was a terrible idea, but boy, did I go for it there for a
Is
second.
Mr. Hat there?
Hang up! Hang up!
Hat, I got it.
So for the diehards out there, you probably remember the Who Shot JR-esque ending of the second season, where we ended on this cliffhanger, and Dad put forth the proclamation that if this video on YouTube gets 100 views, the next time we got together, he would tell us the bat story, the famous bat story.
The famous Mr. Bat story.
If Mr. Bat, Mr. Bat story. For those that were a student of Dad's back in the day, you might have heard this story then, because he became quite known for this story from his students, and new students would even be like, "Are you going to tell us the bat story? Are you going to tell us the bat story?" Well, long story short, the last episode got well over 100 views last time I looked.
103.
That's well over.
Well, it's over. I don't know. It's well over.
But because of that number, the pressure's on. Are you? Do you need anything for this? Are you ready? You need more time to think about it? Or?
No, I wanted to do it fairly early in the evening, so just to get it over. No, we just some people were watching just to
so you
see
can
it.
breathe right.
I mentioned it to the family, and so it has a relationship to the grandchildren, and it's a story I'd just like to have out there in the world, and this would be a chance to do that. So
Kyle has never heard this story. Lex, have you ever heard this story?
Nope, I don't
Oh, Lex has never heard this story.
So you guys will be my students,
Okay.
but don't be too smart.
Oh.
There was always a few of my students that were too smart, and I'd have to ask them to leave before I'd tell the story.
Don't worry, I'll just be myself.
Just be normal.
Same.
Lex needs to bring it down a notch, but you're okay. But that was part of the.
Do you know why everybody likes me?
That's. But I do like the story because of the social application that I applied to it. When I think about that story, I think of all the kids that really just enjoyed. We had a good time together every time I told it. And I didn't tell it to everybody, and I didn't know it for a long time, but every time I'd tell it, it would grow a little bit. Mm-hmm. And now it had a life of its own. But I haven't told it in 20 years, so I was saying before we started that I'm afraid I'm going to mess up, and we agreed that that's okay. I'll just do it again next week.
Just tell it again, yeah.
So you got to do something. We're here for an hour and a half, god damn. But I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I just went into that guy talking again. So you want me to go ahead and try to tell it?
I think I'm ready. I can go make some popcorn or something, but I think we might as well go ahead.
Let's go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you have a question, raise your hand, and I might ask you a question to make sure you're still paying attention. Okay. So, Lex, that includes you now. Don't pretend you're doing something else instead of listening to this story.
All right.
All right, this is a real story. It all happened just exactly as I'm about to make it up. So there you go. Take it with a grain of salt, and thank you for salting the road on the way in there.
You're
I
welcome.
didn't fall. Let's go ahead and start with it happened in the 70s, I think. I was divorced. I was living in an apartment. You were about 5 years old or something like that. You were just a little whippersnapper living with your mother. And I was going to work at the school every day. I was a school teacher. And so this was a May morning, and I was driving across to go to school, to teach school for the day, and nothing was going on. But all of a sudden I saw something out of my eye, I slowed down. I was going down there where the post office is when you're going across town toward the hospital, or where the hospital used to be. But you know that where the post office is now, on that street with the black cemetery on the left, and you're going down through there, and I saw something out of the corner of my eye. It was a nice warm May morning, and it was a young female human being, and she crossed, and the light was stopped, had me stopped, and she ran right across in front of me, and she had blue jean shorts on. She was barefoot. She had this long black mane of hair, and she was running, and it just caught her up, and you could see her hair was flowing. And it was probably, well, it was without a doubt, at that moment, the most beautiful thing I had ever seen in my whole life. And I was amazed. And she just ran by, and the whole world just kind of twittered. There was like little bluebirds flying around, and she just ran by. It was like a little spirit. And she was gone, and the light changed, and I changed. I was completely different. I was never the same after that moment. So I recovered, you know, because that happens several times a day, you know, like that. But I recovered and made it to work. I taught school all day, and everything went all right. And I forgot all that stuff, and come in the next day. Nothing unusual has happened until I get to school, and I get there and I see walking into school this same young lady. And that was kind of mystifying. And sure enough, a little later, after I'd got myself settled and going down to the lounge, she was substitute teaching for a friend of mine. And so I stopped by, and she was standing there looking out the window, and she looked like a picture. It just didn't look real. But I just said hello, and so I went down to the faculty lounge, and one of the ladies in there, we were friends. We would meet and talk, and I asked them, and they knew her. They said she was a former student, and her name was Marion, and that she was substituting today for my friend Paul. And so I got all that information, and getting ready to go back to teach my first period, and I just stuck my head in, and I said, "Hi, I'm Marion." And she looked up and just got this beatific smile on her face and said, "Me too." And, I just stumbled and just said, "Sorry, I'll see you later." And so that was my introduction to her. Sometimes you just have to do something weird to attract their attention. So I was doing that, and I went back and taught my 3 classes. At lunchtime, I went over, and we had a real conversation with her. She was a real nice person, and she had just moved back to town, and she was living with her mother over there by the post office where I'd seen her. And so I gave her my phone number at a certain point, because this is the thing a gentleman should do. I said, "If you need anything, I live right over the hill there. While you're back in town," she said she'd moved back and was substitute teaching to get her, just to figure out what she wanted to do with herself. And she was living with her mother. So I said, "Well, if y'all need any help over there, I'll be glad to come and help you out." So I gave her my phone number, and she gave me hers. And I felt really good about that experience, and went home. And wouldn't you know that about 5 o'clock that evening, I got a phone call, and it was her. Yes. And she said, "Yes, exactly." I'd say, "Whoa, this is great." She said, "Steve, I do need some help." I said, I'm over here, and there's a bat loose in my house. And I said, well, I will be right over. So I got in a car, I got in my old Pinto station wagon and drove over there, and sure enough.
What items did you gather first?
A blanket. I had one laying on the couch there. It was just something like this, and I just took the blanket and threw it in. And I had a fishing net in the car for fishing, so I was thinking that way.
That's some real bad boy shit right there.
Yes, sir. So I go to the house and I knock on the door, and I've got a blanket in one hand and a fishing net in the other. And she comes and she says, I said, where's the bat and all this? So I tell her all about bats. I give her my bat spiels, and they are dangerous because they're not bad or anything, but they're dangerous because they do get rabies, and they do get sick, and if they do bite you, you'd have to go get your shots, and it's terrible and all that. And if you ever see one flying in the daytime, they're sick. So all the stuff I'd heard. There. So I was trying to explain to her how much I knew about bats. In the meantime, I'm looking for the bat, and she says he's up in there somewhere up in these curtains. So I start going through, and sure enough, I find him. And so then I decide what I want to do. Well, I don't want to kill him. I don't want to hurt him. I like, mammals, or bats are nice, but I didn't want him to bite me. So I approached him, and he was all cuddled up the way they do during the day. And so I just threw the blanket over him and caught him and wrapped him up and wrapped it over 4 or 5 times and put him in the fish net, and I caught him. And in the meantime, before I could get out of the house and we had talked, I had invited her to dinner, and she had accepted.
Wow.
So we are on a roll here. I have a bat. Well, I have a bat in the car, and I decide that Nathan, my little 5-year-old boy, had never seen a bat up real close, so I'm going to take him over and show him to Nathan. So I drove to my apartment, wrapped the bat up, I put the windows up, and put some stuff over it, and went inside and showered and got cleaned up to get ready to go take Marion to dinner. And so I did all that, and I came back out, and so I want to run by, show you the bat, and then go pick her up. So I get out, and so I get in the car. Well, I'm getting in the car, I said, I better check on the bat. Well, the bat was gone. I looked through the blanket and everywhere, and I'd had the windows open. Well, no, I took the windows down and made sure. The windows were open, so I figured if the bat had gotten out, he had flown away, and so we were good. So I looked through the whole car, and I couldn't find him. He wasn't anywhere in a normal place, so I said, well, the bat's gone. So I'm driving across town, it's getting dark, sun's going down, it's getting cool, I roll the windows up, we get in the car, I go over and pick her up, and as I open the door, I say, well, I have to tell you that there's a 27% chance that there is a bat in the vehicle at this time. I do not think there is a bat in the car, and I do not think that bat will bother us. If he's here, he's going to hide, because obviously know a lot about bat behavior. So with that reassurance, she got into the car, on the car seat, and I closed it and came over, and we pull out, and it's getting cool, so I roll the windows up, and we start downtown. And everything's going fine, and we're starting to get into the small talk part of the night and talking about different things. And I hear a movement, I hear a rustle, I hear a sound. in the back of the little Pinto station wagon. And we were going through the stoplights down through town. We're getting around where the fire department is now. We're getting downtown. And I look up, and there's still a little daylight, but I adjust that rear view mirror, and the bat, just like those Bela Lugosi vampire movies where they show the bat doing this with the, you can even see the strings coming down. The bat was literally in that, doing that in the rear view mirror. I've never seen it. It was amazing. He was just in the back of the Pinto station wagon. He was flapping his, and then all hell broke loose. He just, boom, 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 boom. He was flying around our heads. She starts to scream and starts, just at the beginning of her scream, she stopped. And I looked over, and there was terror in her eyes, and her eyes were looking down, and the bat was crawling up her leg.
Oh, my goodness.
That beautiful little leg, and there was a bat crawling up it. And I'm holding the Pinto station wagon, and I've got the clutch right here, and I'm going downtown, and I have to make a decision, and I am a man.
Split second.
You got to do it. And I reached over and I grabbed that bat. That bat is not going to bother that lady. I grabbed the bat and I picked it up, and I could see those little teeth coming, and those little teeth were starting to go in right there. I could see it. The bat's mouth was closing on that right there, and I went and threw it out the window. Of course, there was one problem. Kyle, you have been paying attention. What was the problem I had at that moment?
The windows are rolled up.
Very good. That's all right. Good job. So the bat bounces off the window. And what we're going to say next is, I'm going to have to say it this way. Okay. It fell into my crotch area.
No.
Yeah.
Are you still moving, driving?
I'm still driving a Pinto station wagon by the Catholic Church at this time. And exactly, you're right there. I'm coming over that drive, the Catholic Church, and there's two little old ladies, each of them with a pack of brown bag of groceries. They used to be able to shop downtown in the 70s. And they were walking up that road right at the Catholic Church entrance. And there was a parking spot, and I jerked the Pinto station wagon in. The left wheel jumped over the curve. I ripped the door open. I jumped out, and I went woof, like that. And the bat just fluttered up between these two little old ladies and flew away. And they looked up at that bat, and then they looked back at me, and I said, "Excuse me." That's all I could think of to say. I just said, "Excuse me." And I got back in the car, pulled out, and took Marion to dinner.
Wow.
She still hung out with you?
The way I finished the story is I show them a picture of Daniel and Joe, my two young children at the time, and said she must have enjoyed some part of the night because these are our two children.
That's wow. So beautiful.
Yeah.
And one of the old ladies turns to the other old lady and goes, "That's a bad boy."
Yeah. I gave him something to talk about.
That's a great story. Hey, here.
That was so cool.
A good rendering. I look forward to hearing it again.
Well, I'm glad it's over. I think I remembered all the parts too.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good family story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad. It's fun because I'm in it, and the result is Daniel and Joe. It's a Good family story.
Wow.
Well, that's the bat story.
Oh, Squant Joe's in the chat right now. He says, yes, made it. In more ways than one.
I wonder how the bat side of the story went.
There's some bat grandchild right now telling that story. Well,
You wouldn't believe what this
you
dude.
ever happened to granddad once? I'm saying that because I assume they have shorter lifespans than we do. So there's no chance that bat's still alive out there telling the story.
Probably not, but that's a good thought.
Mm-hmm.
The bat definitely had a story to tell.
So you want to tell it again right away?
No, my idea is never to tell it again now that it's on.
That's actually a good idea to tell somebody to tell a nice story, then repeat it, see how
Just-
much of it changes.
Right.
I'm sure it does change.
Yeah,
Oh, it changes
for
every
better
time.
and worse.
Yeah, you definitely add something. There was one other thing I was going to say that this time that I didn't put in. I can't remember what it was.
I thought you were going to say that when you talked to her, the reason she was running the first time was she had a bat in her hair.
Oh, is this the bat? Is the bat in her hair? You're wondering when the bat's going to show up in the story.
Wow.
So I guess is it inappropriate to critique the storytelling?
No.
It seemed like the one thing that I know from doing this as a performer and planning to tell a story or whatever, I'll make these mental notes, and sometimes those mental notes can get in a loop or get hung up. I was wondering if last night when you were thinking about telling the story, if you were I got to make sure the window.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah, because
you got yourself turned around a couple
the
of
window
times.
evolved out of the fact that one time I did it, the third time I told the story, I caught somebody and asked them if they remembered, and that was a cool moment because
Right.
it brought everybody together.
Oh, yeah.
So I tried to do that every time after that. So
Right.
that did become part of the story, was to make sure because you have to set it up by saying the window was down.
Right.
And
Because that's how you know it
But
probably
they
got out.
told.
exactly.
So you have it in your mind that,
that it got away.
right,
Yeah.
right,
And you create that image, and then when you have to say it's getting cooler, so you roll the window up. And
right,
then-
right.
but someone who reads a lot of detective books right immediately says, "Now, why did he?
Back up.
Why did he give us that information?
Right.
Unless we're going to need it later." And invariably, someone always knows. They remember that because, and that's probably because I do emphasize it abnormally. I think is
Right.
part of what you're saying. You bring it in, although it might not comfortably fit, but you have a purpose in doing it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot of little things with, and I don't know that there's many stories in my life that you can take out and analyze like that.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't really have long stories or anything like that.
Right.
That's probably the only one.
Is it the only one?
Maybe. I have little bits of things, but not a long story like that one.
It was also good with the props when you threw the bat and this came flying out.
I know, that was amazing visual aid.
Well,
I can CGI that into an
always,
actual bat.
when I did it in class, I did it with a flourish, and I'd throw something up in the air.
No, did you mean to throw that? I couldn't tell if you meant to throw it.
No, I didn't mean to throw that. I will next time, but not this time. I'll add that to the story.
Oh man! Next time we do it, you should actually have a real live bat in the blanket. So you tell the story, then you go. And then I just got out of the car and I threw it in the bat.
That can be arranged.
Yeah, y'all have plenty
I'll
of
make a
that.
couple phone
Let
calls.
me have my tobacco back. I'm going to have a celebratory smoke.
Congratulations.
I'm very thankful that that's over.
I can't wait to hear it again.
Man just like sex for him. He's got to have a smoke after he's done telling the bad story.
Come
Not
on.
a good story.
Yeah, man, that was a good story.
Well, thank you. I hope
Do you have a?
I hope
do you have
everybody
stories?
enjoyed it.
I have 1,000 stories, but it always has to be like something that
What's the story you think you've told the most in your life?
Oh my gosh.
Do you see my pipe anymore?
See, it would have to be. I can't just ever think of them.
I heard it. Thank you.
I can't just ever think of them when I'm. It has to be like somebody will tell a story that like when we had our Christmas party, somebody asked me to, because I tell stories all the time at work. They're like, "Tell us a story," and I was just like, "Oh, I couldn't think of any." It's like, my favorite Christmas. Did I tell you my Christmas story? The lady with that I bought the children's thing for.
I'm not sure. We're still in the season.
I think I already told it. The woman was so excited, I donated some money.
Keep going.
I can tell when I look at your eyes, I've told this story. God, what do I have? 101 stories. When I went,
That's the difference.
I went to Durham this weekend to visit a friend, and one of our favorite stories, which it's not even funny. I don't even know why we still laugh about it. We were drunk one night in a 7-Eleven, and we had gone to 7-Eleven to get some food, and I had a loaf of bread, and I was like, I was in line. This woman came up to me, this drunk lady came up and said, "Where'd you get that bread?" And I said, "What?" She goes, "Where'd you get that bread?" I was like, "Over there in the bread section." Not even funny, but we say that to each other all the time for a reason. "Where'd you get that bread? Where'd you get that bread?"
Was he with you?
The way she said bread was so funny. "Where'd you get that bread?" God, what are some of my favorite stories?
Joe says, "Nailed it, Dad."
Oh.
He said, "I had a new observation. Dad's desire to show his 5-year-old son the bat outweighed any potential fear of going over to his ex's house while on his way to a date with a new woman." That's love.
That's funny.
One of my favorite, me and another friend and my ex-wife, were at a Mexican restaurant one time, and she got like drunk as can be and laid down. Me and him were on like a booth on this side, and she was on the other side, and she laid down. I'm like, "Man, you can't lay down though. This is a restaurant." She's like, "Oh man, I'm wasted." So we just kept drinking and eating and stuff. So we leave. This is down near VCU, and we walk out. And she hadn't talked or said anything, for like maybe an hour and a half. Just been laying there on the booth. So we walk outside, and some guy on a bike rides by, and she yells, "You dumb motherfucker!" And the guy thought I yelled it, so he slams on his bike brakes and comes coming up to me. What'd you say to me?" And we're like holding my ex-wife up, like she could barely walk. "What'd you call me? You call me a dumb motherfucker?" I was like, "No, no, no." And he's like, "Did you do it?" To my other friend. And he's like, "No." And he's like, "Well, what? One of y'all? I heard somebody say it." My wife's just like, he's like, "One of y'all said it." We're like, "Man, I mean," and he probably thought we were the biggest sissies. We're like, "No, she said it." She's like, "Oh." He goes, "Who said it? Which one of y'all said it?" We're like, "Man, seriously, neither one of us said it. We didn't even really see you ride by. We're sorry that happened. One of y'all got to tell me who said it." And he was really mad. We're just like, "It was her." And she's like, can't even hold her head up to look at him. And I haven't been in a fight for 100 years.
You missed an opportunity there. That could have been a best friend, a lifelong best friend right there. If you just fought him proper, stepped out back and met him like a gentleman.
Like a bad boy.
Like a bad boy, squared off. You guys would have been.
I was just waiting for a barrel to fall on his head so he'd leave us alone. I mean, that guy he was so mad.
Beanie in the house. Love that story.
Oh, hi, Beanie.
Todd Snyder is one of the best, one of the few of the proud tradition of storytelling troubadours today. His book is really fascinating, a really quick read. You ever looked at that? I should
I
give
think
you.
so. I don't think I read the whole thing, but I think I had it for a while.
But he talks about how when he decided to become a storytelling troubadour, how he was very, very serious about it, and he would just like walk around the track and just tell the same story over and over again, working on the cadence of every line, how and sort of writing it and practicing it, and he would tell it to his wife over and over and over again.
Oh yeah.
And for a lot of storytelling troubadours, it becomes it's just as crafted as any of their songs. It's almost disappointing. Like you go see Arlo Guthrie, who's one of the famous storytelling troubadours, and it's even built into the story to make it seem off the cuff.
Right.
There's little mechanisms built in to make it, I don't know, feel really fresh.
Right.
And you're just like, wow, he's like telling me this.
He just thought of it.
Like he just thought of it. Then you travel 3 hours to see him in the next city, and you're like, there's nothing worse than a storytelling troubadour. on that level, you're seeing the exact same show again.
That's interesting.
The exact same spontaneous jokes and stuff like that.
Spontaneous repetition.
Right, spontaneous repetition.
You're like, but I was in his favorite audience last night.
Right.
How can we already be outdone?
Right.
This is actually not even that great. Just saying.
I've been to see David Sedaris a couple of times. He's like just stands up and tells stories.
Right.
And that's just, I mean, they're very funny, but like you said, the humor would be so diminished if you saw him again.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. But then there are variations. Every now and again, they discover a new twist or a new way to put it on the fly.
Right.
If you're a real diehard fan, like, oh, you got to hear him tell that story in Michigan. You have that bootleg. That's the best one. It's like 30 minutes long. It's so good.
Now, did any of y'all see that Cat Williams interview where he took everybody down?
No.
What was it?
This comedian Cat Williams.
I love Cat Williams.
He just ratted out every other comedian in the country, how they stole jokes and they were never funny. They didn't write any of their own jokes and stuff. And since
Was he calling them in general or by name specific?
Name, like Kevin Hart, he just tore apart.
How about Chappelle? Did he leave
No, he
him
didn't
alone?
didn't say anything about Chappelle, but oh God, now Cedric the Entertainer, he went after, and how he stole everything. And since he said that, they're showing like TV shows and stuff that had these jokes, and then Cedric would go on tour like 10 years later and say, no, it sort of made it his own, but the same punchline, the same everything. And he made it sound like it was terrible, but I was thinking, man, also, if nobody really knows the joke, I mean,
You're sort of keeping it alive.
yeah, like nobody ever gets up there and says, these are all my, I mean, sure, every good comedian, you don't just think of all that stuff yourself. You hear a good punchline, you build up to it. But man, it's like supposedly the most viewed online interview ever. Like 50 million people have seen it.
Oh, wow. It's recent?
Yeah, like a week or two ago. But it's like 3 hours of him just tearing apart every.
3 hours?
Yeah.
He's good deep diving.
Yeah.
He goes off from what I've heard about it. I haven't seen it. There's been some kind of famous responses too.
Yeah, a lot of people have come out, denying that it happened or like going after him. Kevin Hart came out and said he's just jealous, and he's got a lot of stuff too about how Hollywood is the devil's. I mean, they're all like demons. Like you have to really sell your soul and agree not to say anything. And
Did you see his new special yet?
I haven't.
Not bad. Not my favorite, but not bad. Chappelle, I didn't necessarily like his new special. It had the feeling like he had a three show contract, and was just fulfilling the contract. Like didn't want to give him the good stuff.
Right.
I'll just save that for the next contractor. But it was very redundant. It was very mystifying because he's one of my heroes.
Right.
I love him, and I always get excited when there's a new one coming out.
Man, I had like a terrible wasn't a dream. Like what is it called when you're like awake but you don't really know you're like. I don't even know what it's called. But at night, I'll just put on like something on my phone and fall asleep. And one time I woke up and it was Chappelle. It wasn't one of his shows. I guess somebody from the crowd had filmed it or something. And he was talking to these ladies in the crowd, asking them stuff. It's like really attacking them and going after them, like very like in a mean way, and like telling them why they thought was wrong. And I guess I had just woken up, and man, it was scaring me. For some reason, I thought like he was coming after me, like questioning the things I
Because you're half
believed in.
asleep.
Yeah.
It's like getting in your dreams.
And I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I was reaching for the phone. Turn this off. I've been laying here for I don't know how long with the God, questioning every belief I have, You're ignorant for believing that. No, please.
Stand-up comedy is such a fascinating art. Like the first thing that I think of when you're just talking is how they handle hecklers is part of the craft.
Yeah.
It's part of the craft. They're some of the most famous watched things from comedians as a response to a heckler. And there's a little bit of impetus on the quality of the heckling coming. I'm sure comedians when they're in the nightclubs in their training days probably sit out there and heckle the other comedians that are on stage as a sport. Because you come up with the right heckle, you could really throw them off their game and then just watch them squirm. Or they triumph and they defeat the heckle and they're stronger. It's such a sub part of that whole art craft or whatever, the heckling.
I guess another reason you can tell I'm not a bad boy is I've been to some comedy shows where somebody in the back will say something they think is funny, and the comedian just knocks them down a peg, and the dumbass doesn't know to keep their mouth shut, so they keep going after them, and the comedian just like destroys them, and I can just feel myself like. I just want to yell, dude, be quiet and leave while you still have some pride, Well, you know how bad you look.
You're messing with a pro here.
You got to be prepared for that, too. I wonder, they obviously practice that, right? Like how they would react to hecklers, because some of it is genius.
It's unbelievable. It's a lot of people. There's been several comedians that have made their big name from a moment like that, a spontaneous moment. But they got it's an interesting use of your skill set or whatever. It's like you got these barbs, these weapons, and your rhetoric and your wit and quickness that you get to show off in those moments. Like holy moly, did you see how he handled that heckler? Legend. It's like the stuff of legends. It's a very interesting aspect of it.
And to take because they're not prepared. They know nothing about that person heckling them, but then they'll make it personal because they'll get those little bits of information and just be able to come up with some. Oh, you're an Uber driver. Oh, you're an Uber driver. And then boom,
bam.
He's got like 5 ready.
Right.
Drivers or whatever,
just waiting. Right. I've been waiting my whole career to be heckled by an Uber driver.
Now I don't even know if this is even out yet, but I heard some comedians with AI have done a new George Carlin special. Have you heard about that?
What?
It's like George Carlin, but they've used like some old jokes of his and stuff and made like a new comedy special that looks like
put all of Carlin's material into AI and said, come up with a
I guess it's like stuff that he never performed like live or something. And supposedly his family is like having a fit. Like these are jokes that he didn't. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm even correct.
Oh, they're actually his notes.
His stuff, yeah. And I think his family's having a fit. Like this is the stuff he didn't find worthy. But the comedians are like, well, people don't really, like they put out Hendrix and Dylan stuff they probably would never want released. So, but I heard there's like a big, to do about that.
Interesting. I always felt like performing, like I had a comedian's sensibility, because the pace of like a musician and a comedian, it's like two completely different performances. But I always sort of had to my detriment, had sort of like the mindset of a comedian, because a comedian, they are either thriving or dying second to second up there. You either have them and they're laughing, or they're not, and you're dying. And you feel it second to second. Whereas with a musician, it's like 10 minute to 10 minute. Did they clap at the end of the song where there's even like a built-in cue for the audience to applaud? You can sort of like convince yourself either way. You can almost decide for yourself how you're doing as a musician. But I never did. I always sort of felt like I either had them and it was going well, or I was dying up there. It's sort of interesting.
They're not clapping for one of my best lines in the middle of the song.
Yeah, are they hanging on every word, or is this not going well at all?
Well, I was just reading some of this stuff about Trump's trial, and like the judge was like, "You don't know how to behave in a courtroom," and like that, he's like, "You don't either." Like he's like throwing back remarks to the judge. Like
he considers the judge a heckler at his show.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Yeah, to be a stand-up comedian, and of course, mostly what we see on TV, and even if you pay to go see money, it's a pretty well-trained comedian. But man, like you hear about these places in Hollywood and stuff where they have like the new young comedians can get in. And I can't imagine anything more scarier than getting up for the first time, trying to. Because even people that are funny though, just around the house, it's a whole different thing getting up there and. Without somebody feeding you lines, and like I can sit here when y'all say something, think of something funny to say, but man, put me on stage, I would just be like,
Well, that's one of the differences between a performer and, you shouldn't be a performer if you can't rise to that challenge.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's rising to that challenge that makes it fun for the performer.
Right.
If you don't enjoy it, you shouldn't be doing that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My brother and Brian Demery, they were like, I don't know if they were in high school or out of high school. They performed. I don't know if you remember the Wharf Deli and Pub. Do you remember that?
That was my first gig ever.
Oh, really?
I still have a little cutout from the Stanton News Leader newspaper.
Wow.
My first show ever at the Wharf.
Yeah, because I used to work there, and then I got my brother a job there. So they let him come on, and him and Brian Demery like wore like overalls, and they were called Bubba and Tubbs. And they had overalls, like made themselves real fat. And he said it was one of those nights he wishes he could like erase from his past. Like people weren't laughing.
Oh, they were doing state comedy,
yeah,
a comedy team.
Yeah.
Oh,
really? He said it was just like, man, like 5 minutes into it, you think, what have I done?
It's been a long time since we've had a comedy team. That used to be a whole thing.
You might know these guys. I just bought a CD a couple weeks ago, Homer and Jethro. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
They would like take classic songs and like rewrite them to be humorous.
The original Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah, but it was like from the 60s or something.
Yeah, they were the country version.
Yeah, and I was listening to it actually laughing out loud. It was pretty funny, some of this.
Yeah, they were funny. Homer
That's cool.
and Jethro.
I've never heard of that.
I'll have to Google them tonight.
Yeah, they're probably on YouTube. Beans, good to see your face. Oh, yeah. I know that one well. She says John Prine and the Happy Enchilada story reminds me of this. Hypnagogic state is what Kyle was talking about, the dream awake thing.
Oh, what?
Hypnagogic. Y'all know the John Prine Happy Enchilada song?
Not really.
He it's better because he tells it mid-song. He has this song. It's like that's the way the world goes round. You're up one day, the next you're down. It's a half an inch of water, and you think you're gonna drown. That's the way that the world goes round. That's the song. He's like, one night I was playing this song, or I was playing a show somewhere, and this lady comes up and said, I was hoping you'd play the Happy Enchilada song tonight. He's like, Happy Enchilada? I don't think I've ever written a song about a happy enchilada. She's like, sure you have. It's a happy enchilada and you think you're going to drown. That's the way that the world goes round.
That's funny.
Oh, my God.
I had that on a cassette tape. It was, I don't even know if that's available on vinyl or anything, but that Trying to remember what that. If you know, Beans, what record that was? It's definitely a live John Prine collection. He was a great storytelling troubadour back in the day. It's really a whole thing. It's a very.
Well, it's art for sure.
Yeah.
That was definitely one of my aspirations. My whole problem is I couldn't just commit to one aspiration, so I never fully became any of my dreams. But I dipped my toe in the deep end of all those pools.
Now, has anybody ever written jokes or like not jokes but stories to music, like humorous stories to music, where you just like play and you're telling a humorous story?
Alice's Restaurant, Arlo Guthrie.
Yeah.
You know that one?
Yeah.
Dead skunk.
Dead Skunk. What's that?
Dead skunk in the middle of the road.
Wainwright.
Loudon Wainwright
Yeah.
the third.
Oh wow.
That's who that
Wainwright.
was
Yeah.
about? I was
Yeah.
thinking it was Harry Chapin for some reason.
Yeah. Wainwright. Yeah.
Harry Chapin did stories.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He told
He was a
stories.
storytelling troubadour, for sure.
Dead skunk.
Bruce Springsteen's done a really good job of keeping his hat in that ring while being a pop rock star as well. But he's also a
Yeah,
storytelling troubadour at heart to a certain extent.
Yeah, that's true.
Have you ever heard that interview? I've seen it on YouTube a couple of times. He was when he was a big star, touring somewhere, and he went to the movies. Have you heard
You're
that?
talking about Bruce Springsteen?
Yeah, have you heard that?
Mm-mm.
And he went to the movies, and he's sitting there at the movies, and these young couple recognize him. They're like, "Oh my God, Bruce Springsteen." I guess it's dark. He's just sitting there, but they recognize him. And they ask him to come over to one of their parents' house for dinner, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll come." And he tells this whole story, just like they walk in with Bruce Springsteen, and he sits down at the family table and has dinner with them and stuff.
That's a great story. Wow. Well, welcome back, guys.
I know we were talking about it. It seems like it's been forever.
Yeah, that's. I've been alone a lot. And, well, there's more than one up there, but we've been alone a lot.
Wait, what's that?
Well, all the people that live
Oh,
up
in your
there.
head,
Yeah,
right.
I mean, there's more than just me, obviously. But we've been doing all right, but it's kind of between the cold and not wanting to get sick. I've just been holed up in the little house, I guess, like the rest of us.
Yeah, we actually got some cold and some sort of actual snow here the last.
Well, we've
this
had
week.
winter. Yeah, they've made a snowman and they slayed down the hill and they got cold and they've had hot chocolate and
Wow.
now shut up and go to bed.
I'm glad the window opened for us to be able to do tonight because they're calling for a little more snow tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it might be holed up
Well,
again.
this is the first time I've been out of the house in about 4 days. So, literally. So,
Me too.
Isn't today one of our faithful viewers' birthdays?
what is it?
Isn't today one of our faithful viewers' birthdays?
It's Dana's.
Yeah.
Well, I meant to
Happy
say,
birthday,
loyal-
Dana.
I meant to say that at the beginning. I'm sorry, Dana.
Oh, Dean's a great answer to my question of which album that was. She's like, I don't know which album. Saw him tell it live 3 times.
Wow. Great.
True, same story every time. Troubadour story.
Cool.
That's great. Well, I'm glad we're back at it.
Yeah, I think we pulled it all.
Yeah.
I learned a lot tonight. I want to meet what's his name? Gerbo.
Grebo.
Grebo.
Oh.
Well,
You know what?
his name is Oberg.
Jim Oberg.
You think you could talk him into doing magic on the show one night?
We should definitely powwow about all the different things we could possibly do with the show, but guess is not out of the realm of possibilities.
One
It'd
thing.
be fun to have. We could pick. The 3 of us could do a good job interviewing somebody too, asking them good questions about
hot
what the hot seat.
right.
Yeah, like a hot seat.
Yeah, who would we
Yeah.
like to have on the hot seat?
The mayor.
Grebo would be a good one. Oh, the mayor. No. Oh, yeah, stuff like that would be good.
No, he wouldn't come on here.
I don't even know who our mayor
I don't.
is right now. Who is our mayor now?
Hey, yeah.
Do you know?
Is it a man? Is it a
Do you
man
know?
or a woman? I don't even know if it's a man or a woman.
Well,
That's terrible.
see, that's a good question.
I think who it was.
I think it's still. I think it's
Kenny Lockhart.
the guy I used to play poker with,
Not Kenny
Steve.
Lockhart.
You think it's a old friend of yours?
Yeah.
Maybe. I can't remember his name.
Yeah. Let's see. Claffey, Steve Claffey. I think he's the mayor now.
Wait a minute, our mayor is Mr. Clappy.
I think so.
Hey Siri, who is the current mayor of Staunton, Virginia?
Even they don't know.
Links. She didn't just say it.
Isn't that weird?
Who did I vote for in the last?
Staunton has new mayor team after surprise resignation.
Oh, that's right.
Whoa, this is current
I didn't do
news.
that much, but I did
Oh yeah,
know his name,
yeah. She wanted to spend time with her family. Or
The
something.
agenda for Staunton's
Yeah.
council meeting yesterday included the election of mayor after Andrea Oakes.
Yeah, Andrea quit.
She resigned. All members voted.
Well, we knew that, and I think Steve got it.
Why did she resign?
She said she
to
wanted to
be
spend
with
time
her
with her
family.
family. Yeah.
Or I think your daughter had a child. And
She don't know about that bad boy life.
She was a dirty girl.
Yep, Claffey.
yep, I was right.
Well done. Well done.
Man, you're the only one up to date on all this stuff.
And I don't even get the paper anymore.
Hey,
Now, did you miss it, or do you find yourself able to go on without it? Oh, you don't get your crosswords though. What do you?
I miss my crosswords. I miss the ritual of reading the paper, but it had gone downhill so badly that it wasn't really even a local paper anymore. So I didn't miss the lack of being a local paper.
There's something a little sad about it, right? 'Cause
Yeah,
You're reading it every day going, this is not a local paper anymore.
Yeah.
Have you thought about getting
Like
like
I don't-
USA Today or something like that, or the Richmond or Roanoke?
Well, that's what he was getting.
No, I was.
the newsletter.
Yeah, it's USA Today. Gannett is who puts out the Staunton News Leader. It's like a
Yeah, it's the same.
subsidiary.
It'd be the same crossword puzzle, I'm sure. But,
Stephen would like to know if we're going to continue to do birds this season.
I think what I'm going to do this time is do a presentation, and probably not much on birds. I will do animals, but I'm also going to do little lessons that I've used to do for students.
We're talking chemistry?
No, science.
Just science.
Science oriented, but not necessarily chemistry.
That'll be fun. You're going to have props and stuff?
I might, yeah. So I'm working up.
I'm just seeing you holding a balloon for some reason.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but I
yeah.
just see you holding a balloon.
I can see
and
that,
stand.
too.
Don't move. Don't.
Yeah.
No sudden movements,
Me,
please.
me with the balloon, Lex across the room with that bow and arrow.
Velocity.
Velocity versus fear. Let's see how this works out.
Thank you out there for watching. Appreciate you so much.
Happy
And we will
birthday,
see you
Dana,
next
again.
time on Jabber
Yes,
Jawn.
Dana, I love you.
We need a leaving song. I guess this is a good.
Man, you're going to this disco era.
Get the
right.
disco lights going. Oh goodness.
I will survive. Gloria Gaynor. Is that who did it?
First I was afraid, I was terrified, I could never live without you by my... I don't know. I bet that one's easy we could Google it.
Do you remember any of the songs you did at the Wharf on your first show?
No, that's a good question. What songs would I possibly... They would have all been covers. They would have all been like from Dad's music collection. What songs I played at my first gig at the Wharf when I was 16. Nana saved the clipping from...
I'll bet you did a John Prine.
I bet I did a John Prine song. I bet I did Happy Enchilada. I'll never forget going, I might have told you all this story before, but going in to get that gig, 16 years old, walked in there, I was like, I'd like to play here.
What year was it?
That would have been 86.
God, so that was still Wade and Sue still owned it?
I don't know if I remember that. But I walked in, during the day, and it was upstairs was not open yet. It was like a nighttime thing where their stages were. And I was like, I'd like to play here. I had my guitar with me. And he's like, well, what kind of stuff you do, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, told him. And he's like, well, why don't you get up there and play me a few? So I had to get my guitar and go sit on my first stage ever. And he's like, just go ahead and sing me a few. I'm going to be doing some work here while you sing. So I get up there and I'm setting up and I start singing and he just leaves the room. And every now and again he walks back through with the box or something and he's just sort of like, I'm just in there by myself just singing seemingly to no one. And then after I did a few songs, he's like, well, okay. And gave me the gig. I don't think it had anything to do with my performance though. I don't think, I don't know.
He was a good guy, Wade.
Yeah. Well, that was a pretty exciting time scoring my first gig. I'm going to do this one it's not really riffing off the show like I do sometimes, but I've been working on a recording of this song here at home, so it's fresh in my mind. I was singing it late last night. Ish. Not brand new.
I saw something run across the floor. Jesus.
It's a bat.
It's a bat.
They were all coming at me.
I can reverse it, make them go away from you.
And also, ladies and gentlemen, this will be our first song by Mr. Hat.
The return of Mr. Hat.
There you go. Now they're running away from you in fear. I reversed it.
That feels a lot better.
All right. It all seemed so bright to me, like a room lit forever by a spark. I didn't know there were things I couldn't see. I didn't even know it was dark. A sign in the distance was showing me my aim was to leave a mark. I thought the moon was glowing, see, I didn't even know it was dark. I studied the lines of a poet's smile. I traced her and drew out her heart, the kind that's drawn by a little child. I didn't even know it was dark. I was betting the bigger blind, folded like a crane in the park. Drunk it all, tastes like shine. I didn't even know it was dark. I felt my way through a crooked maze, headlong into a dead end from the start. I didn't know that those were the brighter days. I didn't even know it was dark. There's a list of things I'll never know, like how to stop clapping once I start. Still in the back row, shouting, bravo! I didn't even know it was dark. I guess you could say I've seen the light. Saw as the light tore me apart and poured from me the deepest night. I didn't even know it was dark. After all, it was all just talk. Twice I'd been right, but on a lark. Quite like a broken clock. I didn't even know it was dark. I didn't even know it was dark. I didn't even know it was dark. I didn't even know it was dark.
Wow.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all so much. We'll see you next time. Jabber Jawn signing off.
Do good.
I got an
Peace.
observation.
Please.
I was thinking when you were singing that song, that if you tell a story the same way every time, you picked up on it and you don't want to hear that. You want to hear a real story. But when you sing a song, you want to hear it the same way every time.
That's true, right.
And they're both, but a lot of times the song's a story and a story is a song. Stories are songs for people that can't sing. That's all I had on that.
Story.
But I thought of that while you were singing.
I love that.
Like if he sings that different